Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a place where you can be, belong, and become the very best version of yourselves. And so we believe the Jesus message is one that is so relevant today. It was relevant back then, but I think today it really just hums. In the middle of all the chaos, all the brokenness, this message of Jesus, it just speaks. It speaks so beautifully. And so wherever you're joining us, we would ask that you would please consider donating. We have a link down below where you can donate. You can work with us, walk with us, where you can give monthly, weekly, daily if you like. But you can partner with us and continue sharing these messages. Also, if you'd like to subscribe on YouTube, just click the YouTube button. And also there's a little bell. So every time there's a new video, it'll show you, hey, new video, and you can click and watch. So either way, we're so glad you're here joining us in this journey where we are moving through this beautiful message of the Sermon on the Mount. And so today we step into the Sermon on the Mount and we go into chapter 6. So we went through the entire chapter 5, verse by verse. And I think just from getting messages from all of you, this was a good journey. This was a lot of fun. So I'm really excited to share this next chapter because this chapter kind of goes into more like paragraph format. So before it was line by line, but now it's almost like Jesus gave us some concepts. And then this next portion, chapter 6, he's going to deal with the same concepts, but he's going to go from a different angle. And so that's kind of how the Bible works often, especially like in the book of Revelation. You'll see the concept, he'll share it, and then you'll get it from this angle, and then this angle. And so this is what we're going to see. The whole concept is how do we become the living, breathing, walking temple, the place where the kingdom of heaven happens. And so this message is really all about here's how to be human. Here's how to be wonderfully, beautifully, divinely human. So again, we understand the Sermon on the Mount is, again, for a Jewish person who's reading this during the first century, they're immediately connecting Jesus to Moses. He's bringing the law, which again was basically just these ideas of how we're going to navigate life together, how we're going to live in harmony. So again, our quote, the Sermon on the Mount is a deeper critique into the heart of the law. It's how to live life harmoniously. And then we also understand this message was given during a time of chaos, brokenness. They lost their temple. They're asking, where is our tribe going? Is our identity completely lost? Is our God no longer even in the picture? And so Jesus steps up, and this message was shared around 70 AD. 70 AD, well after the crucifixion. And so we step into this new message. We talked about the blessing, so let's delve into chapter 6. So here we go. Chapter 6, 1 through 4. I'll read it to you. Beware of doing your righteous acts before men, in order to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in the heavens. Thus, when you give to the poor, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do, because, we all carry trumpets, in the congregations and in the streets to be praised by men. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a kind deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your kind deed shall be in secret. And your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. Again, that's Matthew chapter 6, 1 through 4. So, when I read this passage now, I can't help but laugh because during that culture, in that time period, you had a group of people who were basically doing a bunch of good things, but they were doing them all for the wrong reason. And so it reminds me today of our selfie culture. People will all the time, I've seen it constantly on Facebook, Instagram. People will do really good things. They'll go on their mission trip and they'll smile and they'll take their picture of them doing the good thing. And it's just so funny to me. They have to get the recognition. Oh, I'm so proud of you. That was such a good deed. Blah, 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 blah. Rarely do you see people doing good things anymore without having to publicize it. In fact, I went on a mission trip once, and I remember going up front, sharing the messages of Jesus to a people in Thailand who were actually living the message far better than us here in America. And I remembered sharing different messages. And I remembered many of us were doing like different things for the community there. And so we were doing concrete work. We were helping fix bathrooms and those kind of things. And I remember asking the people there, what is it that you actually need? And they said, we actually really need like wells dug because Halfway through the year, we have no water. And it clicked for me. We came there without actually understanding what these people needed. And I started reflecting on the whole experience, and there was one that kind of caught me because it really caught me because it made me have to struggle with why was I there in the first place? There was a moment in the mission trip where we got a phone call and everyone said, go to the fence over by the ball field. So we went over there and there was this fence that was pretty much almost all painted. And the workers had been finishing the work. And they asked us, would you guys all missionaries, grab a paintbrush and start to finish the rest so we can get our photo op? And we all did it. And I remember later looking at that thinking, ugh, like I did the thing, but we did the thing in order to get noticed. And I think how often do we do this? We do good things in order to get the photo op. We do good things in order for others to think certain things about us. We do good things out of selfish motivations. And so I think Jesus here in this verse, this set of verses, he's actually critiquing the deeper heart of each of us, why we do the things we do. And so there's this word that's brought up in this set of verses, and the word is righteousness. And I think oftentimes we get righteousness kind of confused. In our culture, we'll hear righteousness, and whether you're a Calvinist, an Adventist, a Catholic, whatever you are, oftentimes righteousness has been associated with like being a perfect person, having it all together, being religious. But that's not actually the idea of what righteousness was. Righteousness, if you look there, righteousness, this word, it meant basically the actions of someone who's been healed, someone who has experienced goodness. So it refers to like the duties of a person. So go a little deeper with me now in this. Sotar, salvation, it was a word that meant healing. It was a medical term. So keep going with me here. Salvation meant healing. And so someone living salvation, their actions are righteous. Makes sense, right? The actions of a person who has been saved, healed, right? Their righteousness is their actions, what they do. And so the question Jesus poses, what does a healed, whole person living life more abundantly, what do they do? What do they act like? Like, what do they look like in the world? And so this is where the Bible steps in and it says this. And what's going to happen here, really interestingly enough, the next three sermon series that I do, I hate to call them sermons, but the next three teachings that I'll do here are going to focus on giving to the poor, praying, and fasting, because that's what Jesus understood. This is what a righteous person looks like. This is what they do. And so he starts with giving to the poor, which really, if you begin to dissect these, he starts with community. He almost goes backwards. A righteous person is going to act different than many other people in community. A righteous person who has experienced healing is going to respond and live in community differently than others because they have experienced healing. Someone who prays, essentially praying is all about the soul. It's all about the inward experience. And then fasting is really about the body. So you have body, heart, mind, soul, all of it together mixed in one, right? One teaching in which Jesus shares. And so he focuses again on community first. That's where we see the actions first. As we get to know someone, we get to know their inward journey. We get to know their experiences. We see them more fully for who they are. And so again, shalom is really all three of these wrapped in one. Torah lived out is this, all three of these, this is what it looks like when it's lived out. And so we continue. When you look at the Old Testament, you'll understand what Jesus is sharing is not anything new. He's just adding a bigger twist to it, sharing it in a condensed way, but also adding more of like the love portion to it, right? And so when you look at Deuteronomy 15, 7 through 11, you're going to see this idea of like living at one in community, learning to love one another, give fully of ourselves, not a new idea. It's one that was in the very fabric of what it meant to be a Jew. So here we go. If a fellow Yisrael from one of the villages in the land that Yahweh, your Elohim, is giving you, should be poor, you must not harden your heart or be insensitive to his impoverished condition. Think about that. Many of us, when we are driving down the road, we'll see these people with their signs. And whether you want to give money or not what I'm getting at here, I think often we have our hearts hardened. We look at them and we don't even think about them as another human being. We just look at them as, it's a scammer, or they're choosing that lifestyle, whatever it is. And we forget these people are human. And our hearts get hardened because we see it so often, especially if you're in Southern California. You see homelessness and need all the time. And it easily can harden your very soul. Continues. Instead, you must be sure to open your hand to him. I love that because in our culture right now, we're going through the coronavirus. Everyone is getting what they can, right? We want to get our toilet paper. We want to get our hand sanitizer. I get what I want, and you're on your own. But Jesus says, no. If you want shalom, if you want to be fully in community, Israel understood we have to live life like this. We have to open our hands to one another. We have to give fully, generously, whenever someone's in need. That is the heart of Torah. And so give generously. Be careful lest you entertain the wicked thought that the seventh year, the year of cancellation of debts, has almost arrived, and your attitude be wrong toward your impoverished fellow Israelite, and you do not lend him anything. He will cry out to Yahweh against you, and it will be regarded as a sin. We understand that every seventh year, they basically would cancel all debt, right? They would give fully. And so don't wait until, the year's almost over. I'll just let this person struggle for a little bit. And then when the new year starts, that's when I'll start doing it. Because then I can I can start working on my new tax write-offs. Not the point. Jesus says, not the point. Not the point. It continues. You must by all means, notice that all means, lend to him and not be upset by doing it. Don't look back and why did I give so much? I shouldn't have given a 10. I should have given a 2. Whatever. Don't look back at it. For because this is Yahweh your Elohim will bless you in all your work and in everything you attempt. There will never cease to be some poor people in the land. Therefore, I'm instructing you to make sure you open your hand to your fellow sons of Israel who are needy and poor in your land. Open your hands. This idea that very deeply enriched through these passages, constantly the message of Israel. Did they follow it perfectly? Well, no. But it's a message that was shared over and over again. You'll also see here in Leviticus 19, when you gather in the harvest of your land, you must not completely harvest the corn of your field, and you must not gather up the gleanings of your harvest. You must not pick your vineyard bare. You must not gather up the fallen grapes of the vineyard. You must leave them for the poor and the foreigner. So watch this now. Wouldn't it be interesting if all of the companies in America, maybe even worldwide, whenever we harvested any kind of food, we would leave like a tenth of it to take care of our poor, take care of the needy, take care of the family whose husband just lost his job. Can you imagine if the world functioned like Israel was functioning? We would not have issues with needy people anymore because those people would be taken care of. We would be experiencing open-handedness everywhere we look. We would be at peace because we knew if I lose this job, it's not the end of the world because I have family. I have a community of people who will take care of me when I'm going through this painful thing. And when someone else is in need and I'm back on top, I will open my hand and give what I can. It's a beautiful way of living. Shalom. Again, nothing missing, nothing broken. Look at this, Deuteronomy. You must celebrate the festival of Sukkot for 7 days at the time of the grain and the grape harvest. You are to rejoice in your festival, you, your son, and your daughter, your male and your female slaves, the Levi, the resident foreigners, the orphans, and the widows who are in your villages. So notice this. It was actually a tithe. Like you put away a tenth of your income just so you could, on this day of celebration, take care of people in need. And so we're really good at I'm going to put away savings for this. I have this new mountain bike I want to start paying off, or I want to start saving for this or that. That's what they did for each other in community. They put away their income, some of it, to make sure that people were taken care of. Beautiful. And so this was the culture Jesus essentially came from. It was deeply ingrained in all of them. We take care of each other. We're family. And again, imagine if that's how the world looked. We're family. We take care of each other. It'd be beautiful. Even when you look at the Pharisees, and again, the Pharisees were a group of people who basically said, Israel, we keep coming so close. We need to maybe set some guidelines, some rules, some regulations. And they had the best of intention. When you look at historically, the Pharisees set up to essentially create some basically barriers to help keep them safe and doing the right thing, keeping on the Torah path. That was the idea. But again, very easy to get too engrossed in your own rules and regulations until you have so much red tape you can't walk. And that's what happened to the Pharisees. But look at this now. The Pharisees had rules and regulations about this. They were supposed to be following these. Watch, this is so interesting. Do not do good deeds to be noticed. Right? That's in the Talmud. Don't do good things to be noticed. He who gives alms in secret is greater than Moses. This is the Babylonian Talmud. These were Pharisaic rules about giving, about keeping the heart and the motivation pure. This was deeply in the Pharisees' rules. The greatest form of charity is when you give and do not know to whom you give, and the recipient takes and does not know from whom he takes. Again, we're always talking about how terrible the Pharisees were, but no. Jesus actually sides the majority of the time with the Pharisees, even though they're the ones often attacking him, but deeply within their own rules, their own regulations to keep with Torah. They understood, and they believed, they didn't always follow, that giving was supposed to be something that was motivated by the heart, not by what people see. But it's interesting, the Pharisees kind of continue going awry. And so there was this moment, they would oftentimes, and this is something that literally would happen, they would have trumpeters and celebrants there who would essentially, when you went up to give, you paid these people to essentially make a big spectacle of you. So when you gave, people would like, or they would play their music or whatever, and they would make a big spectacle. What's happening in America right now, what you may not be aware of, is people love an audience. And there are actually companies now who will pay, or you will pay them, and they will actually follow you like you're a celebrity. Interesting, right? Weird. But that's happening in our culture. It happened back then. It happens now. Not surprised. And so often when you see people giving, whether you're Bill Gates, whether you're on a mission trip and you're doing your selfies, whatever it is, we see people all the time who are doing this action. They're doing good things, but they're making sure they're noticed. They're doing the good things, but they're making sure they get the selfie in. Why do we need the selfie? Why do we need people noticing us? Jesus is calling that into question. And then he says something interesting here. He says, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. So again, kind of an odd phrase. What does it really mean? We've had people I've heard so many people try to dissect this thing. But again, if you understand, the writers are borrowing from the Old Testament. They're inserting certain things into maybe what Jesus has said or what happened, this and this and this. They're inserting Torah back into the passage. And so if you look in Ecclesiastes 10:2, you'll see right away, the heart of the wise inclines to the right. The foolish, right, to the left. So the Torah way is to the right. Foolishness is to the left. So if you're a Jewish person and you read this thing about don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, you immediately connect right hand, good, Torah, straight on, following the path. Left hand, erring, missing the point. You can kind of see the picture. One theologian says this to make it even more clear for us. He says, in the proverb, which is kind of what this is, in the proverb, there is an implied association between the wise and his right hand and between the fool and his left. Here, the right side or the right hand refers to the person who is aware and compliant with the Torah of Yahweh, while the other one, the left, is in rebellion against the Almighty's instruction. So again, a wise person following Torah, they're going to embody good. They're going to be doing the good thing. They're not going to be constantly, well, I'm going to do the good thing, but I'm going to do it because of this. These two are not working together. It's the right hand we follow. The right hand does the good thing. If you get the accolades, fantastic, that's great, whatever. But this, the right hand, the movement toward Torah, doing things because it's the right thing to do, that's the implication here. That's the implied thing. This is where the direction we should be heading. And so again, the foolish person does good in order to gain favor. The Torah follower, the one who wants to live life more abundantly, who wants to follow this new way of being human, they do good things. They are motivated not out of the selfie, not out of getting rewards from others. They're motivated because they love other people. They understand we're all part of this together. We're all in this together. We're all community. And I'm learning to open my hand, live a life where we open our hands. And so if I could sum up this verse, this set of verses, I might say this: righteous actions should be motivated by the heart, not the ego. I think that's kind of what Jesus would have said today. Righteous actions motivated by the heart, not the ego. And so how do we do this? Right? Like the easiest thing in the world to talk about. How do we do this? How do we live this thing out? Here's a couple suggestions I think that might be helpful for us down the road, how to actually live this thing out. Number one is this: give with no expectation. Give with no expectation. When you give something, don't expect anything back in return. Give. Give without wondering if you're going to get accolades or if they're going to give you a great birthday present because your birthday is just around the corner. Don't even think about those things. Put it out of your mind. Secondly, leave your cell phone behind. Like, just drop it. Try doing good things without taking the selfie. Put the phone in your pocket. Just do the good thing. You don't need to have the photo op. In fact, if you leave the phone, you're actually going to find yourself more present to the people around you. Another idea here is give routinely. Make giving a routine, something that you just do. And whether that's tithing, whether that's charities, or whatever it is, find a way to make this just a part of your everyday life, giving however you can. And so again, righteous actions should be motivated by the heart, not the ego. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, my challenge to you, which is really the challenge Jesus offers his people, is this: if we want to be walking, living, breathing temples where the kingdom of heaven resides, maybe we start by living life open-handedly, especially in a time like this where everyone's wanting to grab. Maybe we learn to open our hands and give where we can, knowing that we are all part of the same family together. If you enjoyed this, please again consider donating to ethos-church.org/donate. And again, if you want to be a part of the conversations we're having twice a month, the first and the third of every week, every Saturday, the first and the third of every week on a Saturday morning, 11 a.m., please email me at tonywerfel@gmail.com. It is such a fantastic experience. And again, lastly, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and share this wherever you can. Thank you so much again for joining us. We love you all. And I love being a part of a community where we can belong, and become the very best version of ourselves. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.